Hi everyone, Paul Akers, host of the American Innovator. You know, the innovative spirit is alive and well, and everywhere I travel around the world, I bring back ideas and creativity to share with my audience to continuously improve and change the way we live. Welcome to the American Innovator.
One of my favorite sayings is, "This is Africa, TIA." In 2013, my wife and I ventured back to Africa for the second time, this time to Eastern Africa, to Tanzania and to Kenya. Our goal was to see the Masai Mara, the Great Crossing. And normally I love to capture everything on video, but this time I was able to take some incredible photographs. Altogether, my wife and I compiled over 5,000 photographs, but we deleted most of them, and this is what you're watching now, the best of the best. We started off at Ambion's Ngorongoro Crater Lodge, and it was spectacular. Our first night, we were greeted by a fantastic room with a hot drawn bath, and man, it was an experience we'll never forget. We captured these pictures of the moon in the evening and then in the morning before we got going. And the first stop was the Masai village. And the Masai people are indigenous to the Ngorongoro Crater area. And they just put on an incredible display of how they live life in a very simple way. We saw the Masai children. We actually went to one of their schools. And then as we traveled down into the crater, we got to see some amazing sights, starting off with this elephant almost cleaning the teeth of this guy in his car. Next, we came across a lion kill and a pride of lions eating a water buffalo. It was maybe not the most pleasant thing to watch, but it was interesting watching nature play out its role. It actually caused a traffic jam down in the bottom of the crater. There were so many people watching. And Aziza was our guide and our ranger throughout the day, and she did a spectacular job. We stopped for lunch very close to where the lion kill was, and then we journeyed on and we saw hyenas, and we saw every possible animal, especially the hippos. We saw so many of those. And the crater is just plentiful with every possible animal. It's really an amazing place. It's one of the wonders of the world in terms of nature. Our next stop was Lake Manyara. Lake Manyara is an amazing place in the Great Rift Valley. And Lake Manyara is just filled with every possible species of birds. And it was here that we came to see the famous tree climbing lions. But ironically, we didn't find them. But what we did find, seemingly endless wildlife. We saw the most beautiful birds. We took our cameras, we zoomed in, we focused in, and we began to appreciate Africa in a different way than we had in the past. You know, most people go there to see the big five. This time we focused on the small five, and we saw so many incredible animals and diversity like I've never experienced before. The secret to Africa is patience, just to turn the vehicle off and watch and listen and observe. We saw so many incredible sights on our journey from the airport to Ambion's Lake Manyara Tree Lodge. When we got there, the staff welcomed us, and it is in a beautiful setting deep in the woods. And they just had everything prepared and done so nicely. We settled in for the first night, and the next morning as we got up, we went on our first game drive. Most people think of Africa as being really hot, but it was actually a little cool. We had to wear blankets, but we had a great time again observing all the flora and fauna and small birds and animals. And Peter, our ranger, was amazing. We had a great breakfast, and we saw some big game, but a lot of cool small stuff as well. So as we journeyed on, we just saw amazing birds. Look at this one. We each had an eye pole, one of our products, that allowed us to steady the shots and take some incredible pictures. That was a picture of our first ranger's parents, who we met in the middle of Lake Manyara, out in the middle of nowhere. What a coincidence. The world is so small that we would stumble across them. All the birds, the monkeys, everything seemed to be lighting up for us and allowing us to take their photograph. Look at the diversity and the unusual wildlife that is out there. It's all a matter of being patient and just observing and hearing and listening. Look at this Egyptian goose. Got a great picture of these yellow-billed storks. It became a real challenge to see how interesting a picture you could capture. And of course, if you observe enough, you'll see some pretty unusual things like wildebeest, running in the lake. I didn't think I'd ever see that. A baby baboon and its mother, and the baby playing with the tail of its mother. So this was a trip about transitioning from looking for the big game to understanding and appreciating the small things. And then after we saw the small things, then we began to look at unusual pictures that we could shoot. Nature is a living canvas, and we began to appreciate as it unfolded in front of us. Look at these wildebeest hiding in the grass, these storks flying above, the giraffes lining up in perfect symmetry. Everywhere we looked, we saw the most unusual sights, and it became more interesting than ever. And yes, we saw the big game. We even had an elephant charge us at one point. We appreciated the trees, the giant anthills, the unusual shaped trees. The diversity of birds was just endless. Big birds, small birds, everything you could imagine was just right in front of you and waiting for our camera. And the team at Lake Manyara was off the charts. Next stop was Serengeti under canvas. We actually stayed in a tent right in the middle of the wilderness with all the animals openly roaming around us. We didn't drive more than 15 minutes from the airport on the first day upon arriving, and we found an incredible cheetah kill. But the cheetah was chased off by a hyena as the vultures waited for their turn. We sat and watched this for at least an hour, and it was incredible to see nature unfold and the pecking order between even the vultures, as well as the relationship between the cheetah and the hyena. The next day, we went out into the Serengeti and again began to capture just amazing sights and sounds. We had breakfast right on the river and watched the hippos fight and interact with one another. And again, more spectacular birds and interesting trees. And then in the afternoon, I would download all the pictures and sort through them all and delete the majority of the pictures I took, so I only kept the best ones. And then we came across an amazing pride of lions, and Katya and Elena took a balloon ride the next morning, and we saw spectacular sunsets. The Serengeti opened its arms to us. The vultures, the hippos, the secretary bird, the Serengeti sunsets, the black-winged plover, the fish eagle, the impala with the M on its rear end for McDonald's for the leopards. This amazing ostrich that was in heat, the crown plover, the Hildebrand starling, this francolin. You could never get tired of the sunsets and the sunrises, the dried mud holes, the trees that were silhouetted with fantastic birds, the marabou stork, the lions, the impalas who put on a show for us, the helmeted guinea fowl, and of course Katya and Elena and our guide and ranger Milau, such good friends we made. Day after day we set out to explore and understand the Serengeti. And the hyenas, they were almost comical with some of the things they did, but of course they are ferocious predators. And our team in Serengeti, they were just amazing. Again, another beautiful sunset and the balloon ride that Katya and Elena took, the hippo, the red-billed hornbill, the topi, every possible species of monkey, the brown snake eagle, the hoofs of a giraffe, the tail of a giraffe. So interesting. And on the last day before we left, there was another kill that the hyenas were taking part in as the vultures and the marabou stork waited. We took one last farewell picture and we were in the plane and off to our next stop, Klein's camp. This was bush piloting at its best. Dirt strips everywhere we went. And we got to know our next ranger, Salehu. And he was fantastic, and best of all, he was hysterically funny. All the stories he told us and all the jokes. The setting for Klein's camp was spectacular. Nestled on the side of a mountain overlooking a fantastic valley, the sunrises and sunsets were just hard to even imagine. They were breathtaking. This camp used to be a hunting lodge, and then it became an and property and was converted to a photography lodge, and boy am I glad for that. We saw another great episode of elephants having fun in the mud baths and just carrying on almost like teenagers. And then of course lots of spectacular birds, the hartebeest, more sunsets, the black-backed jackal, our ranger Salehu and Lebo, our tracker, and a giraffe, a close-up shot. And then of course the Great Migration, because we went to the Masai Mara from Klein's camp and we just saw thousands and thousands of wildebeest and the leopard tortoise. And we just had a great lunch out in the middle of nowhere. And then we came across the lions. And it was, well, more than we expected. We saw the lions mate twice. These zebras drinking water out of a stream, and the Klein's camp staff playing the Maasai villagers, and Pascali, our incredible butler, and inside the main lodge at night with the fire burning. It was just a fantastic time. Klein's camp was one of the most beautiful places we visited because of its setting. And then, of course, we went all the way out to the Masai Mara, and we saw the lions, and we saw the wildebeest by the hundreds. We saw this hippo in the Mara River. This absolutely adorable lion cub and its paw, and the mother, took a close-up of the mother's eye, and this marabou stork drying its wings, and this vulture after taking a bath in the river drying its wings, and a water lily, and the male lion. And the male lion actually got in a little tussle with the female and got wounded right there on the nose. This beautiful expansive view of the Masai Mara, this genetically mutated baboon that Salehu, our ranger, had never seen before. I even had time to do a quick painting. Asante Sana, thank you very much to the Klein's camp staff because they were so amazing. From Klein's camp, we flew on to our next stop, Batular Lodge, nestled right on the edge of the Masai Mara, and our tent, which was luxury at the highest level. And again, we settled in for an amazing two-day adventure, and we'll never forget John, the Maasai warrior, who was so friendly. We began to see animals and sightings that we hadn't seen in some of the other camps. Masai Mara means the spotted plain because the trees create this pattern. They're so perfect that it looks like a spotted plain. And of course, in the evening after our first game drive, we went up to the top of the ridge overlooking the Great Rift Valley, and we had a great barbecue, and the Maasai warriors danced for us. The next morning we woke up and we began our morning game drive. It was beautiful. We saw mongooses, weaver nests, the sooty chat, and beautiful flowers. Again, a wide variety of birds, and the zebra that was in a lion attack, and the patterns healed back together. Not quite perfectly, but they did heal. The Masai Mara plains are stunningly beautiful. And then the yellow-throated longclaw, this beautiful lilac-breasted roller, and the banded mongoose. They put on a great show for us. The black-chested snake eagle and the Masai Mara plain, just stunningly beautiful. The tissue paper flower, the pied kingfisher, this heron, this huge crocodile, so menacing. A close-up of him, and then the zebras coming down to the Mara River to drink. And then as they got their courage up, they began to cross as the crocodiles came in from all directions, and the crocodiles moved closer, and yes, they got the zebra. It was difficult to watch, but it's part of nature. We had some amazing footage, this water monitor, and then a fantastic lunch with Wilson and Elika, our rangers. What a time we had in Masai Mara. And then Wilson showed us the border of Kenya and Tanzania, and we captured this beautiful cheetah and its cub laying in the grass. And then quick with the camera, I captured this pied crow as it took off up this chimney of this building, and the spar-winged plover, and the water bucks, And the water bucks are usually always in the water, but this time we captured them just lounging in the grass. And then, of course, the Mara River, this is where the crossing actually happened. And then the crocodiles were just huge, and a water monitor. And then my favorite bird, the secretary bird, and this vast expanse with wildebeest, thousands of them, and this lilac-breasted roller catching a grasshopper. It was incredible, the pictures we were able to capture. This baby elephant and more hoofs of a giraffe. A giraffe is an amazing animal. Its bones are solid. There's no marrow inside, so when they kick, they have tremendous force and it can be deadly. We took a balloon ride right over the Mara River, and that was the Hippo Highway. And then here's our balloon being filled up in the morning, and we got to see the sunrise. It was really, again, an experience that we'll never forget. And when the balloon landed, there was a lion right in the grass. Imagine that. We had an incredible breakfast right out in the Masai Mara plain, and Sanjay was our pilot, and he was a total hoot. And then, of course, the crew from Batular were just unbelievable, singing to us, and our butler bringing us fresh coffee every morning. And of course, Wilson and Elika, our rangers, they were just so special. And more pictures of the beautiful Masai Mara plain. Vultures coming in for a landing, water buffaloes, and this guy was hysterical. He was covered in mud. We call him the old man. And as we were driving to the airport, a lion sitting right on the side of the road, and look at this water buffalo covered with mud, and the Great Rift Valley. So we took off as we ended our journey, as we flew in to Nairobi for one last day. We visited the giraffe park, the elephant orphanage. We even adopted a baby elephant, Ajuba, which means mystery. They found her on one of the dirt runways out in the Masai Mara, and they don't know what happened to her mother. Look how little she is. And Maxwell, the blind black rhino. And the last place we went was Carnivore for our last dinner where we were in Nairobi before we flew back home. And we had a great time there sampling all the different kinds of meat. At the end of the day, this was an and beyond experience that we will never forget.
Remember, life's an adventure. Be a part of the solution. Go out, learn, improve, change, think outside the box. We can change the way the world thinks. Be an innovator. I really got to stop getting myself in these situations. That's a leopard, and that's an elephant. Yes, and this is a cheetah.
Like, oh, I saw
Here,
that.
kitty, kitty, kitty,
Oh,
kitty, kitty.
cute. He wants to play.
Uh-oh, uh-oh, got it.